What is up, everybody? It's Dynamic here, and welcome back to another MLW video. Now today we're going to be power ranking all 8 teams in MLW, which pretty much just means I'm going to be ranking them in where I think they're going to finish this year. So this is a pretty big prediction video. Also, I just want to say we hit 250 subs, which is halfway to 500 and a quarter way to 1,000. And I'm just so thankful for y'all. I feel so welcome into the community of MLW, so don't worry, I'm going to keep making videos. Also, I know this is kind of random, but I make music and I just dropped an album tonight. So if you guys are at all interested in that, I don't blame you if you're not. It's kind of random. I'll leave a link down in the description. Anyways, let's get on with the video. Now first, I have the Diamondbacks getting 11 wins and finishing first. Now the reason I have them finishing first is because of how much better their team has gotten. I think Jimmy Norp is such an underrated manager when it comes to the GM prospect of the league, because not only did he draft one of my favorite prospects in Jake Sullivan, who could be a perfect secondary Game 2 pitcher, but they also have so much depth now when it comes to hitting. Obviously, they traded for Nick Saylor, but they also have Pishka, they also have Heath, and they brought back Shima as well. I didn't even mention Casey Bennett, who can hit really well and can also be that second arm if Jake Sullivan doesn't pan out. And Norp, who probably had his worst season last year, was still a monster. He is an impossible player to slow down, so I think using all these things and using all this depth, there's no way that they win less than 10 games, and they could honestly even win more than 11. So I have them finishing first. Now in second, I have the Eagles, the defending champs, with 10 wins. Now, the reason I have them second isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just don't think they did a ton to get much better, but their roster is still really good. Obviously, they still have Dallas Allen, Landon Urgaitis, but guys like Zach Whalen did retire, and I'm not really sure about the future of Blade Walker on this team. However, when Blade did play, he averaged a .412 batting percentage, so that's something that we got to look at if he does play. Also, Daniel Schultz had a huge season. I anticipate that he's going to do that again. Also, I'm a pretty big fan of Evan Trackman, the rookie that the Eagles got at number 8. A lot of 8 overall picks aren't going to play too much in this league, but I think he fits perfectly with this team, and they're going to want to play him. So finishing third, I have the Predators, and I think they'll win around 8 games. Now, this team didn't really do much to get better. They didn't really do much to get worse either. It depends on what you think about their rookie, Evan Porter. There's been some concerns, at least from me, about his height, about his arm slot, maybe a little bit about his age. But from the MLW community, there has been some response to what I said about him, saying that he's actually pretty nasty, so we'll see how he does on this team. I just think that the Predators haven't been making the right steps to getting a second arm. They just keep drafting guys late in the draft, and that's not really how you want to get a great second arm in this league, in my opinion. I mean, sometimes it will hit, sometimes it won't. But also, this team retained pretty much all their players. They still have Levi Fleer. They still have Cratch, obviously. Ramirez, Russell, Warda, all those guys are back. And hopefully, they can all bat over 200. So finishing fourth, I have the Gators with a round 8 wins as well. Now, this is a team that I think purely got better. They drafted Dustin Staggs at 2. And they won 7 games last year. So it's not crazy to say I think they'll finish fourth with just winning 1 more game. A lot of MLW fans are super high on this team. They see progression will happen in Sawyer Bean, Jeremy Adams, and hopefully Staggs is a really good player from the jump. I think an underrated part of this team, though, was what Jason Chadwick brought to the plate, as he batted over 300 and hit 14 hits all season, which is just incredible. He also had 2 home runs. Sawyer Bean had 4. Jeremy Adams had 3. They're going to need to keep raking in home runs if they want to win games, which I think they can do. I also like Chris Cheatham's leadership for this team, and I think that the hype that the MLW community is building around this team isn't fake at all. I think it's actually very well deserved, and I think that they can go out and do a good job. They could even surpass 8 wins. I think that's a very modest mark for them. So at number 5, I have the Malards winning 7 games. Honestly, I think this is a little generous for them. I don't know if they're a playoff team this year. They could miss the playoffs. It depends how Flood plays. It definitely depends how TC3 plays, because he didn't have the best season last year. But I do anticipate a comeback. I think I've said that like 4 times this offseason, but I definitely do anticipate a comeback from him. There's also Brendan Jorgensen, who I think is going to come back and have an amazing season. He batted .234, which is all you can ask from the guy. Also, Preston Colm had an amazing season. I think he'll do it again. I really like the way he can contact hit, and he just gets on base, man. And then you cannot mention the Malards without talking about Jordan Robles. There's been some talk about if he can make the games. I think he'll be just fine. And overall, the team does have a bunch of solid players. We'll just have to see if they can play well together. And honestly, this team is ride or die on TC3. That's a lot of pressure on one guy, but I think he can do it. Lead the team to like a 5 or a 6 seed and around 7 wins. So now finishing 6th, I have the Wildcats with 7 wins. I actually think Kyle did an amazing job this offseason with getting this team in a position to rebuild as well as make the playoffs. It kind of reminds me of like the NBA equivalent to the Pistons right now, because they have a lot of youth here. Pat Ballman, Ty Fresnick, Sean Hornberger, a lot of guys that are younger but can make a really big impact if they can figure out how to translate their games to MLW, which Ty Fresnick, in my opinion, already has. It's really just about Pat Ballman and Sean Hornberger. Obviously, Kyle Schultz always will play well, and Jackson Pearson, I think he's going to have a better season this year. I'm curious to see how well Liam Jackson does. I don't think he's going to have a huge role, especially since his team has found so many hitters, but I think he can be useful if guys aren't going to be making games. Yes, this team is young. Yes, they're inexperienced, but also they've set themselves up pretty well. I know the departure of Nick Saylor is hard for some fans, but I think they might potentially play better without him. So I'm going to give them 7 wins, and that could be a little generous, but I could also see them maybe getting like 8 or 9 wins. And finishing 7th, I have the Cobras with around 5 wins. In my opinion, the Cobras right now are just the weirdliest constructed team in the MLW. Obviously, the Baranowski brothers retired, which some people think could be a blessing in disguise. We'll really have to see. So that means Drew Davis is going to be the second arm on this team. I'm an Andy Duran fan. I like Justin Esch, but I'm not super sold on the Zerleg and Flynn combo in that hitting lineup. We're going to have to see how well Cole Kwiatkowski can do as well. I really thought Drew Davis was going to go with a pitcher, but he decided to go with his own guy. He could really be a sleeper player in MLW, but I just think the way this team is constructed, it feels a bit random to me. I don't know. I'm not going to blame it all on Drew Davis. There has been some guys that don't have amazing production. Also, I'm a little worried if Caden's going to be as consistent as last year. They're relying on him super heavily, and last year I think he went against some easy hitters at times, which kind of made his stats look better. I don't know. We'll see. In my opinion, they could finish last. They could squeak into the playoffs, but I don't have a huge ceiling on this team, so I think they're going to finish around 7th. And then I have the Magic finishing last with around 3 wins. Now, I am a Magic fan, so this does hurt to say. Obviously, I'm going to root on my team, but I'm not super confident about what they have going into the season. AJ Ackerman took a pretty big step back from what he did his rookie year. Jack Egner, Trevor Bonham, Jordan Curdy, all the veterans on this team are unstable and a little bit useless at times. I think Jack Egner is best used for his leadership, considering he didn't even get a hit last year at 20 at-bats. Trevor Bonham, it feels like he has just kind of lost the magic, no pun intended, that he had at the beginning of his career. RJ Walgate is still pretty good, of course, but Grant Miller can't make all the games, which doesn't leave me super optimistic about how well this team's going to do. Also, with the 2 new rookies they've drafted, they've given away next year's pick, but they took Pearson, who I think has some potential to do good things, and then John Paul Gunn. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't think he's going to be the best. I disagree. I do think he'll be good, but I just don't know if it will be enough. This team just feels like they don't have enough at the plate for me yet, even with the 2 players they drafted. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you want to see next from me. Obviously, this season is starting soon, so if you want to see more MLW content, subscribe so you don't miss anything. And of course, love y'all and peace.